website.
Sorry, could I just jump in before we get into the details to thank everyone for their hard work last year, those who did it in the previous couple years before that and returned, to thank them, and to thank everyone this year for making the commitment to do this. Your work is really valuable. We relied on it so much last year to talk to the salt treatment authorities and make it clear to them, because you guys had done the testing, you guys did the work, you guys did the measurements, to let them know that they were screwing up. And they took our point because we could document it. So what you're doing, I know it's not easy, but it's really, really important. So I just wanted to thank you before we do a deep dive into the details. So sorry about that.
Okay. Well, apparently a lot of us had trouble with the Clean Water Hub site last year. So we want to take some time to go through the process. It's all covered in the video that you got a link to, but I want to go through it so that I can answer questions people have. And forgive me, I have a head cold, so my voice is weird, but I'm going to plug through here. It's important that we get our volunteers to be able to enter this data in the Clean Water Hub site, so that Christine or others of us don't have to go do it after you go out and do the work of collecting the data. So we want to make sure this is understood. Apparently a lot of the trouble, first off, my very strong recommendation is don't try to do this on your phone. The site is much harder to deal with on a phone. Wait until you get home and get on your computer to enter your data. It'll be much easier. Apparently, a lot of the issues that people had last year had to do with creating a new site.
Before you proceed, Dean, I have put the video in the chat, the link in the chat, and the part of the video that Dean is talking about is at 4 minutes and 32 seconds. Okay, look at the video later. This is the video he's talking about, and then we'll, when we look at the protocol, you'll see how it all fits together.
Yeah, I just want to, all right, is everybody seeing this?
Yes.
Yep.
So this is what you get when you first log in. If you haven't already got an account, you'll be asked to sign in. And that's just a matter of setting a username and a password. And then once you have an account, you'll click on log in and use your username and password to get in. And this is the screen you see when you first go in. And it's already showing dots on the map for any sites that you're already registered for. But if you didn't successfully do that, here's what you need to do. This button here, create a new site. Well, all right, let's step back a second. You have to first find your site and know its GPS coordinates, latitude and longitude, so that it'll show properly on these maps. So be sure you select a site, if you haven't already, where you have reasonable, safe access to the creek. We don't want you trying to go down too steep a bank and hurt yourself. So find a place that's reasonable for you to get to the water. And use your phone to record the GPS coordinates at that site. And that's just a matter of opening Google Maps and holding your finger on the place where you are for a couple seconds. And then at the bottom of the screen or the top of the screen, I forget which one, you'll see the GPS coordinates. And it's in decimal format. So it'll be something like 38.997615 and minus 77.009862. So you click on the button here that says create a new site. And you get this screen. So you give your site a title like Sligo Creek at or Sligo Creek at, I'm going to say Fleetwood. And then if you want to say more about the description of the site to be more specific, you can do that here, like under the hiker biker trail bridge crossing or right next to whatever. That part isn't essential, but you can be more descriptive here if you want to. Under name of water source, in this case, it's the creek, so I put in Sligo Creek. If you're doing a tributary rather than the main stem of Sligo, then you put in the name of the tributary if you know it, or some description of where it is if you don't. And then when the next field says water source, you click on the arrows and it's going to be, your answer each time is going to be, unless you're doing stormwater ponds, you're going to be small stream creek. If you're doing stormwater ponds, there's a place for that down here. So that's just, if you want, you don't have to, but you can take a picture of the site and upload that picture, and here you'll have to get it on your computer to do that. Now, the organizations thing is important. Here you type friends of Sligo Creek. And after you enter it, okay, it's very important that you then click on the place down here below that shows our logo and says Friends of Sligo Creek, because it won't register if you don't. And then you're either going to be in Tacoma Park or Silver Spring or Hyattsville for our creek, the state. And then here's where you put in your latitude and longitude. So this Fleetwood Terrace site is the strange and longitude has to start with minus. So these are sites that I actually got by putting a dot on Google Maps on my computer. So now the map will change to show the blue dot where you just marked a site. So that is now properly recorded, and you should be able to have, you should have no trouble entering data for that site after this, you get to this point. If the map shows you something in Pennsylvania, you got your GPS coordinates wrong. That happened to me when I first tried to do this, but it's easy to fix. So this is, the next step is when you're ready to enter data, you click on create a reading, and then you get these 4 choices, and you're going to click on SaltWatch. Okay, so this is the blank form for entering the data. Always click on, is this ready to share, or do it after you've entered your data. The date, you can click on edit and then click on the calendar over here. Oops, I got my, well, that's not working. So enter a date, let's say today. Then it gives you these choices for most recent precipitation. So select whichever one is most appropriate. And finally, you're getting to the data part. The Quantab reading is how far on the test strip the light colored pointed arrow goes. So you'll enter that. Let's say it's something like 2.8. And then the conversion chart that comes with your kit is going to tell you what that equates to in terms of the chloride level in milligrams per liter. So you'll put in whatever that is. In this case, it says 79 milligrams per liter, so that's reasonably low. And then for confirmation purposes, they want you to enter the expiration date and lot number of the strips you have. Those are also on the card that has the conversion table. And they change, and the conversion table changes potentially for each kit. Now, in practice, most of the kits you initially get will have the same expiration date and lot number, but that's not necessarily true. So it's important that you keep the conversion charts that come with a particular kit with that kit and not use it for any other kits. They have to calibrate these strips by batch. So each batch potentially has different conversion factors, and it's important that you keep them straight. So I'm using a bottle that strips come in rather than the chart right now. So I just enter the month and year for the expiration date and then the exact lot number. And then here you can put any comments you have. It's not required. Once you get all of these things entered, you can click on this Save Changes button. And then this data will appear on a chart. I'm not going to save this because I just entered a bunch of bogus data. So but that step is necessary. Once you do that, it'll go back and show you. Let me find a different site. Hillwood Manor. So, yes. Here we go. So this is the furthest downstream we tested last winter. It's just downstream from New Hampshire Avenue, which in storm events is a huge source of salt because the valley goes down and the hill has to be treated. So last year, this chart shows we had some really alarming readings. This color scale you see here, they're showing that anything over 230 milligrams per liter is really bad. We had readings as high as 2,300 after a salt event last year, and lots of readings above that 230 milligrams level. So we really have a salt problem in our creek. Does anybody have any questions about what we just went through?
Yeah, Dean, I do. This is Ross.
Okay.
For me, one of the hardest things of this whole operation was trying to figure out most recent precipitation, either remembering it or finding some data source. So do you have any suggestions on how to do that?
Oh, interesting. I'm not sure about weather sites that I have a weather
Forecasts are
station in
one
my
thing, but-
backyard, so it's easy for me.
You know, Kit Gauge measures as part of a cooperative precipitation. And I'm sure that it would be useful to have the link. It's hard to find it without knowing what you're looking for, but I find it extremely useful to go back and see. And she does it every day. And there are a number of people actually as part of the cooperative in our watershed that do it. And I could put together an email with those links and people could take a look and see if they find it as helpful as I do. It's called
Well-
Coco Ross It's a cooperative of citizens who every day measure precipitation and post it.
All right, well, that would be helpful. And just as a protocol issue, I was always curious, not just when the precipitation occurred, but how much. I mean, it seems to me if you get a few flakes of snow or a few drops of rain 2 days ago, that's not very significant. If you got a deluge, then obviously it is, but there's no nuance that captures that.
Not in this data, you're right.
Good
And-
point.
They want us to go out and do these tests, even if it's precipitating at the time. Especially if it's a winter storm event. And the rain right after the snow event or ice event is probably going to be what brings the biggest slug of salt into the stream. Oh, another source, Ross, that I just thought of, look at Weather Underground. It's a whole bunch of people that have weather stations in their yards, and you can look on a map and find a site that's near you and see a graph of when rain fell and how much fell at that site.
Thank you.
We are also keeping track of the winter storm events. I was numbering them last year. So when we put the numbers on your measurements on a graph, I think it'd be good to have the winter storm events lined up. And sometimes we have winter storm events predicted and nothing happens, and then we have oversalting, but that's another matter.
Yeah, see, a lot of our governments tend to spread brine when they think it's gonna come, because that helps prevent any accumulation from starting on the road if it doesn't snow too hard. So sometimes you end up applying salt and then you don't get the precipitation. And that's part of what we have to deal with. Does anybody else have questions about this website? Everybody gonna be able to get their sites in there this year, I hope. If not, if you have trouble, get in touch with us at wq.fosc.org, wq@fosc.org, and we'll help you. So I'm going to stop sharing this website here. A couple things we're doing. We started this last year because we were getting such ridiculously high readings. During storm events, we were exceeding the range of the normal SaltWatch strips that Isaac Walton League of America provided to us and that we provided to you. So FoSC, at its expense, purchased some higher range strips made by the same company. And we distributed some of them to some of you last year with the instruction to use them if you max out on the normal strips. And that is why we could get readings above 600, which is about the maximum that the normal strips do. And we went up to levels that were 4 times that high in some cases. So we are going to distribute a high range kit with your normal range kits. You're going to get 2 or 3 envelopes that Isaac Walton League provides us, each of which contains the conversion card the instruction sheet, and a little black plastic Ziploc bag that has 4 normal strips in it and a desiccant package. You're also going to get 1 clear plastic Ziploc bag that has 2 high-range strips in it. And inside that bag is the conversion chart for the high-range strips. Be sure you don't confuse the conversion cards between the 2 kinds. So these strips cost us a little over $2 a piece, so we don't want to waste them, but we do want to get the readings if we need to, because we max out on the regular strips. It really, as Ann pointed out, it really had an impact on our public officials when we could point out such high levels we got. I have one more request with regard to that. I didn't have the little desiccant packs that Isaac Walton League puts in their packets of strips. So when you finish your first kit containing 4 strips, I requested you pull the little desiccant packet out of their bag and put it in the clear plastic bag with the high-range strips. That way they're more likely to not be messed up by moisture before we use them. If everything turns out well, we won't even need the high-range strips, but we know we can't count on that. So if you do end up using a high-range strip, then we want you to enter the reading you get from that in the Clean Water Hub, and then note in the comments section of the Clean Water Hub that the regular strip was maxed out. Any questions about that?
Megan.
I still have 4 high-level strips from last year, and I thought I was told that they were about to expire or had recently expired, so I'm just wondering if they're okay to use, or should I get rid of them?
I had a bunch of high-range strips from last year that are still good, so I put those, they're going to be good until at least June.
Okay.
Now, what you probably don't have, because we didn't print it out last year, we just sent it out in an email, is the conversion chart for them.
Right, I don't.
We'll have to go back and see if we can find the email that we sent last year that had those.
That's no problem. I can send it out to everybody.
Yeah, so if you have old high-range strips, the conversion chart will have the expiration date and the lot number. So this year I actually put the conversion chart in the little bag with the high-range strip, so you won't have to refer to an email.
So Dean, when we do a test and a regular test and it's off the chart, off the conversion chart, is that when we should use the high level one, or?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
So we have another graphic. When you're ready, Dean will show it. And
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. It will, and we'll send it out to you. It will have the specific instructions. So let me share my screen and then you can see. So this is something I made to just try to sit down and give it to you so that you've got something to refer to as the season continues. Dean just went over the creating an account. This is the video that we were referring to. If you, again, had a site set up in the Clean Water Hub last year, you're welcome to continue using it this year. I took some photos from that video to just show people who haven't tested before what testing looks like. This is a strip. This is a vial that apparently the person who made the video had at home. You can use pretty much any small container. We do have a, I don't know what you'd call them, little, almost like a little jar, but it's made out of plastic with a screw top. And we had a bunch of those, so we will be handing those out with the test strips, and you can use that. It's just important that it be truly clean and not have soap residue or other things on it. Of course, soap contains salt. So you don't want to affect your readings that way. And that's why they ask you to rinse and repeat, adding the creek water and then dumping it out and adding creek water and doing that 3 times so that you're really getting a truly just the creek water.
And it's important that only the bottom of the strip needs to be sitting in water. So a 1/2 inch of water is fine.
As you can see, I think that this isn't
Yeah.
very high. And so then when your 3 minutes is up, you're ready to read the card. And you will know what that time is because it turns a bluish black color at the top. And so you would take your strip and you would put it onto the card. The card is included in the envelope for the regular test strip. And it looks like this. And you put your strip over on that right-hand side and being careful to use the card for the strip that you got. So you can't take a card from one test kit and use it in another. You've got to keep them all together. I think there are 4 in each kit. So you won't be saving the conversion card past the use of that 4th strip. You would go on and use the other kit's card. And what we'd like you to do is, of course, to take a reading. And the reading is taken, I don't think I can make this large enough, but the SaltWatch people are careful to say that this particular strip here, the reading is 4.0. And so they're reading at the very top of the peak, the white peak that appears. We would like you to take a photo of the strip and tell us what your reading is and email it to us at wq@fosc.org. That's so that we can have backup in case someone at SaltWatch has a question about it. And so that if we think that the reading based on the photo is too high or too low, we'll email you and ask you to have a look at it. And we'll talk about the high peak, the white peak, and see if maybe that should be revised or not, because you're the ones actually with the test strip. So if you need to take a second photo to just show the white peak or the area of the strip that has the white peak on it, that's fine. But if you could, you can do that too if it's needed. But what we need is to have a picture of the conversion card and the strip together. So in this photo on the right, you'll see they've read this strip as a 4.0, and that is an equivalent to 157. Am I reading that right? 50 or 60? I think it's a 50 parts per million of chloride. And there's also the expiration date and the lot number there. So if your reading is above 7.8 on the regular strip here, then we ask you to do a test using the high concentration salt testing strip, or we just call them high salt strips. And so here on the left is the regular strip. It looks to be around 9.0 or even maybe a little higher. So that's extremely high. So then we know to take the high salt strip and testing strip and use that. And as you can see, the contrast is not nearly as great on these high salt strips. So you just a magnifying glass or a strong light or something will help you read that. I believe this one here is about 6.0, and I believe this one here is about 5.4. Of course, a photo of a photo is not great, but yeah, we know it's hard to read. So
It'll be a little bit more visible than these photos
Mhm.
show, but it's still much harder to see than on the normal strips.
right, and of course, if you send us a photo that looks like what we're looking at here, we won't know what the conversion is. So we haven't had anyone consistently misreading, or we haven't had problems with it, but we figured it's just better to have the photos than not.
Christine, you're showing us two high salt strips,
Yep,
but we're only asked to do one test, right?
that is right. Yep,
Okay.
I just took the photo from the video. You'll recognize it if you watch the video. I guess I could have cropped it, but I didn't. So we ask you to just send the photos and your reading of the strip that you think it's a 5.0 to waterquality@fosc.org. And then to put the highest chloride reading into the clean water hub. And you can put the regular reading in the note column. Actually, I think it's called the comments
Comments, yeah.
section. Yeah. Last year we did the reverse. The SaltWatch group asked us to put in the regular reading and not the high salt reading, and that that led to some funny graphing, which I'll show you in a minute. And once we realized that we had a high salt situation and we got the high salt test strips, we asked them whether we could go ahead and put the high level in. And after some back and forth and hemming and hawing, they said that yes, we could. So we have to redo our graphs, and we might as well start out doing it the right way here this year. So you could put the high salt reading in the reading column, and then in the notes you can put what the regular reading was. I mean, many people after they got high readings like this last year thought that something was wrong with the strip and kept retesting. And so if you do get a result like this, it's nothing wrong with the strip. It's just extremely high salt.
There's something wrong with the creek.
Yeah. So as Anne mentioned, we are using your test results to advocate for more effective salting of the roads through letters to state and county officials. Those are all on the FoSC website under the advocacy tab under the letters and testimony section. And we've recently reorganized that so that it is organized by topic area. So you'll see a box. It's the very first one. It says salt, and you will see all the letters there.
Can I
And
just add that McDOT actually apologized to us for its excessive salting. And you can see that in their reply to our letter on the part of our website that Christine mentioned. I thought it was extraordinary that they admitted their culpability, but we couldn't have challenged them without your test results and without the salt piles that you took photos of and reported to us. So once again, thank you and keep up the good work.
so if you do see salt piles being excessive amounts of salt stuck onto the roads, sidewalks, parking lots, etc. If you would report them to 311, you can just dial 311 on your phone. If you're in Montgomery County, 311 takes you to the Montgomery County central ticketing, sort of not ticketing, but service line. And they are very highly trained people who will get the report to the right agency and the right office within the agency. if you are in Prince George's County, 311 will also work and take you to the Prince George's County central complaint area.
There are some limits to this that I just wanted to mention, like weekends. So we've asked you to also email us at our SALT at FoSC.org. The other thing is that you might have realized that a number of the roads are treated by the State Highway Administration. And I don't think the 311 reports will get to them, but if you, basically the numbered streets, the streets that are the boundaries for Sligo Creek, are treated by the SHA. And if we'll figure that out, but if you also send that email to us at salt@fosc.org, we'll try to make sure that we don't get caught in those cracks there, and that something will be done.
You'll see in the newsletter that's coming out that I tracked down the correct phone number to get a hold of the State Highway Association, or what is it called? Administration.
There's a website where you can report
Right.
and load your pictures.
Right. And that's pretty clear, actually. When you go to even the county website, they'll say, is it on a state road or is it on a Montgomery County maintained road? And the way you can tell is that the state routes are numbered, like 29 or 97 or 320.
So it's important to note in that regard that we're concerned about more than streets. Parking lots can be a huge source because they're usually serviced by someone other than the government, and they might not be as careful as they should be in their salt applications. So pictures of piles of salt on parking lots are useful as well.
Sidewalks, steps, basically any hardscapes, impervious surface that's treated. If you see a pile, take a photo and let us know, and we'll get on it.
Yeah.
So if we see it on, say, a sidewalk or in a parking lot, would we call 311 or would we just send a message to the Friends of Sligo Creek email?
Well, chances are, it depends on the parking lot. You could try 311, but some of the other things you mentioned, they won't handle. There are sidewalks that they treat, but your time is valuable. I would just email us.
I think we have been in discussion with some of the agencies involved, and I think especially the Department of Environmental Protection is really concerned about limiting salt and salting responsibly. And they are starting an initiative are continuing and expanding an initiative that they started last year to work with private building owners and others. So they may be very interested, but they may not actually get the report, as Anna's pointing out. So we might be able to share it with them and that group and see if we can get something going.
I just remember last year, I go to the YMCA in Silver Spring, and I remember seeing huge piles there and didn't really know what to do about that.
Yeah, that drains into Sligo Creek, believe it or not. There's a really long pipe.
Right uphill.
Okay, let us know. I don't think that the county or the state would be responsible. The thing is about commercial properties, and that's not exactly a commercial property, but a non-government property, it's up to the property owner. I've dealt with shopping center property managers to like around Kemp Mill, to get them to take care of their salt piles at the headwaters. And that's what you have to do. It's a crazy quilt world of salt application. Not to mention, by the way, Tacoma Park, they do their own too, and that's very separate as well. So it's complex, but we'll help you sort it out.
Well, I thought you would want to see graphs of different types of the data from last year. And these are probably too small to make much sense out of, but you can see that there were some times where the salt levels were quite high. And some were limited because of the capacity of the regular strips. Here, there were some events that we caught that were much higher, around 3,000 or 3,300. So just there's a dramatic change over time in these. This is Long Branch. Obviously, this is Sligo Creek in the different sections. And then this is our graph, which has some problems, but it of course is limited to about 750, and we know the actual salt levels, if we were to use the same scale, would be up here somewhere. But yeah, and we realized that we really shouldn't rely on the on using the regular test strip data, but to rework this, including the high strip data. So that is all to be done in the next few weeks. So here's some salt pile. I did a little salt pile gallery, and we have lots more examples, but this was something in Sligo Park Hills neighborhood, very hilly neighborhood, and the salt truck operator thought he was being very careful and, ensuring everyone's safety by dumping huge amounts of salt. And so we pursued it with the county, and they came and swept it up. Here's another example. It's been rained on. It's sort of semi-melted, but it's the rock salt chunks are really too close together. They should be much further apart. And there's a sort of no additional benefit when it's put down so densely. Here's a salt pile that has lasted for quite a while after it was laid down, as this was. The snow is gone, but the salt remains. Sometimes for a month or two later. There was a pile on Wayne Avenue near where I live that was there for a couple months after it was salted.
After a while, you stop recognizing it as a salt pile.
Yeah, and this one was very close to the Purple Line construction, and for some reason, the state didn't want to come remove it. I don't know why. Here's a glob of salt that just came out of a truck on Sligo Creek Parkway. Here's the truck salting. As you can see, it's a pretty dense spray.
Jay, are those Jay's photos?
I was just about to say, Jay, thank you very much for these photos. They are your photos. And they are eye-opening. So this is just going straight into the creek. This was already a dense application, but this is really, I mean, obviously a mistake. I don't think that the operator meant to do that, but that's how these things end up in the creek.
Sometimes the spreaders come to a stop sign and forget to turn off the spreader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of the equipment is old. I don't know about this particular equipment. This has got a spray kind of function like a grass seed thing in the garden, but some of them just have a flap that just kind of waggles back and forth, and it's extremely uncalibrated and leaves huge piles. This is in a local parking lot. I think is this Kemp Mill, Anne? I think it might be.
I think so. That
Yeah.
was Huge, yeah.
Yeah, and of course, there's no snow left. These were put down some time well before this photo was taken. But this stuff, every time it rains, it's going into the creek. This is Jay's helper, and it was an extremely cold day, as I recall. So I put this here to remind me to say that if you have someone in your household or a friend or anyone who's along with you, or you're not averse to taking a selfie, we would love to have a photo of you testing so that we can show people in the newsletter or on the website or in, whatever other materials we might need to put together. So if that sounds okay to you and you don't mind sharing, that would be lovely to get. And I think that's it. So we will send you a copy of this protocol. And you can keep it or toss it or whatever you like.
And all the kits will be ready to be picked up in a few days.
And then what would be important to do is to take a baseline sample. So when you get your test kits, if you would head out to test the water and go ahead and put the result in the Clean Water Hub, and we'll consider that a sort of pre-salting level. And then we can look back over time as we could do here. I think last year it was December 17th. No, I'm wrong. That must have been the year before, but these are the baseline tests over a few days. And then we'll have something to compare the subsequent test results to. So, any questions?
And then after we do our baseline, then we're each on our own weekly schedule, or we're doing snow events, or both.
Yes, so some people are doing weekly testing, some people are doing event testing, and some people are doing both. And we really appreciate all the testing that's taking place. Many people are going back to do the site that they did last year. We have some new testers, and their sites aren't actually set quite yet, but I think that's what we'll work toward in the next couple of days, is getting those sites figured out. We don't have all the information about where people are and what's closest to them, and I think they need a little time to figure out if they're going to be weekly testers or event testers or both. So we'll work with those folks to figure that out in the next day or two, and then everybody should drop a pin on their mapping app in their phone to get the latitude and the longitude. Again, we don't want all the degrees and minutes and seconds, which is sometimes how latitude and longitude is reported. What would be easier for us is to have the straight numbers and not to round anything off.
I think the site only accepts decimal latitude and longitude.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And once again, if we're out of town, just let you know and you'll send, if we're doing weekly testing. Or let you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and I will sub in for you.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll let
I
you
will
know.
sub in for you. And so the way we've arranged it for the new folks who don't know is that we have 3 people who have volunteered to be distribution points for the test kits and for the little vials that we have. And so Ed Murtaugh, who's on the call, is in Upper Sligo, Anne is in Mid Sligo, and Dean is in Southern Sligo. So depending on where you live, you can go to the distributor of your choice, but you can go to the person who's closest to you and pick up your kits. So we will email that information to you, or I can actually add it maybe to the bottom of this protocol just here, and give their addresses. Is that okay with you all? Anne and Ed and Dean?
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay, great. Then you have everything in one spot.
But also my email, because it'd be good
Yeah.
to arrange the pickup
Right,
so that I put something out for you.
right.
right. So of course, all that contact info I will include.
Christine, could you talk a bit about how we notify people who are doing the event testing as opposed to the routine testing, how we communicate with them?
We send an email and we ask event testers to test. And we do that after consulting among ourselves and looking at various sources of predictions. And we have people who, friends and others who live in different neighborhoods who will say, yeah, I saw a salting truck go by, or I see those brining stripes on the road, those whitish strips that get, it's a spray of salt and water that gets sprayed onto the roadway when it's dry. And then, as someone else said earlier, keeps the snow from, gathering on the pavement. So it just, at some point, we try as early as possible without being, this is sort of with a reduced chance of being wrong and telling you guys to go and test when there actually, it turns out to be no snow event. So far we've done well. I don't think that we have sent people out needlessly. And so that will all come by email.
What's also important is whether the county and the state think that there's going to be a winter storm event and they treat.
So it's, if you'd like to see the Montgomery County version, I think there is also a PG County version I saw this afternoon, but it's a website that actually shows where the salting trucks are. Just because they're shown doesn't mean that they're actually salting, but they will give arrow indications of which direction they're going, and whether they are in motion or whether they're parked. And I think we could say that generally the Beltway gets salted earlier, or brined and salted earlier. It's definitely an art to figuring out where salting has taken place. We have a pretty good track record. So we try to give you as much notice as possible. We don't want to ask you to go out with just an hour's notice or something. That doesn't make sense. People on the events team are asked to test if they can before the event, and then to test during the event, and then after. And we will give more specific instruction if it's needed in the email when we send that out. So we do a lot of looking and a lot of talking, and then decide, and then I'll send the email quickly. Is that clear? Clear as mud?
Clear.
Okay.
When since some of us already have test strips, do you want us to go ahead and start, or
I don't see anything wrong with that.
going to
Yeah.
be a start date, or you want to handle that?
You want to call tomorrow a start date?
Same protocol where and same protocol where we pick, if we're one of the regular testers, we do it on try to do it on the same day every week?
Yes.
Okay.
Dean, what do you think?
We got readings all year at some sites, some of the time that were too high. So it isn't just when they treat the roads that we have a lot of salt in the creek. We had readings above 200 and 300 in any month of the year, because we test for chemical and bacteria every month at 12 sites, and we use these same strips to test for salt every month at those 12 sites. So we know that it could be a problem anytime. So it doesn't hurt to start.
Someone asked if students could get SSL hours for testing, and they can. We had a kid testing last year, a middle schooler, and the parent was overseeing it, but he was like clockwork every Sunday morning going out and testing. So that was great. I don't know if anyone has a middle schooler or a high schooler in their life, but that is a possibility. And I really thank Slater, you, and anyone else who's new, who's still on the call. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Oh, Barbara and Steve, thank you. You guys too. So I'll be in touch with you later tonight or tomorrow. I'll send an email with some proposed sites. And I think if you have ideas for where you would like to test, wherever's convenient, because I don't know where you are exactly and what's convenient and what looks safe to you. So for example, on Tacoma Branch, there's portions that are underground, there are portions that are daylighted, there's close to the Sligo Creek and, at the other end. So I don't know where you guys are and what kind of terrain it is near you and whether you consider there to be a safe spot. I have some ideas. I think we mentioned near Ray Drive possibly, or Poplar. Poplar is at the one end, I think, right? Or perhaps you're over at the other end. So just depending on, where you live and what's convenient, because you want to be able to get to it without trekking through a half mile of snow or whatever, unless you enjoy snowshoeing or skiing or something. So, but anyway, we can talk about that offsite. Offline. And then I think there's some construction going on near Maple Avenue or north of Maple Avenue on Sligo, and that could pose a problem for a couple of testers. So we're still working that out.
Yeah, my site was on just north of Maple, and so I need to go down and check and see if it's still blocked off, but I can go like on either side of it probably. So I'll email you about that.
Okay, that's great. And then Dave, you were looking at Flora Lane and whether you could, or not lane, but the tributary, to see if there's a spot in Flora that you could test.
Sure, I'm just planning on doing the usual site on Floral Creek, if that's okay. I don't know of any tributaries. I mean, all the water that comes in there at the end of Columbia Boulevard comes in underground. Right? It's all, yeah. So
I was just calling Flora itself a tributary. I wasn't thinking of a tributary of the tributary, though there probably are little creek coming in or something. But your latitude and longitude for last year indicated that you were on Sligo Creek, testing on Sligo. I wasn't clear whether you were actually in Flora or.
Yeah, it was in Flora. It was in Flora Creek.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you could drop a pin there next time
I will.
you go, that would be great. Because
I know how to do it. Right. Thanks.
Yeah. So if anyone else has problems with their site or needs someone to pinch hit while they're out of town or that kind of thing, let me know. All right. I think unless people have more questions or we can email, but otherwise I think we're set.
Wait, one last thing, sorry. If the person who mentioned the huge salt piles in the YMCA parking lot, if they're still on the meeting, I didn't catch who it was. I'd like to know more, because I was thinking maybe we should do a preemptive, like contact to ask them to do better. At any rate,
That was me.
oh, Natalie, okay, can I be in touch with you separately about more detail? We have your
Sure.
email, right? So,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, because I think maybe we should go to them before the season starts and ask them to do better.
Yeah,
So,
it's a good
also,
idea.
metro parking lots, by the way,
Oh,
You know.
yeah. Terrible. Yeah.
they go into Flora
There are
Lane.
some people who just go and collect it themselves and then take it home and use it on their sidewalk. So that's not practical for a big lot like the YMCA, but for just down the hill from where we live.
Yeah.
Next time I'm gonna get a shovel and bring it home. It's always expensive.
I have
That
a
is
bucket
actually,
I got
Make
a bucket of salt in the basement that I swept up last winter right in front of my house.
There you go.
and
Oh,
DEP encourages people to do that, to sweep up whatever salt is left and use it again. There's no point in just letting it melt into the creek. So, yeah.
but document it first, please.
Right.
And we'll,
All right, we should wrap it up.
Thanks for your patience, and
Thanks for your help.
we'll
everybody.
send all this around. Absolutely. And as always, feel free to reach out.
thanks, guys. Go team.
Thanks very much for all the work you're doing. Really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.